Hey, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're still waiting for a couple more people to join and dial in. So before we start, I would just like to read some of our housekeeping notes. So we'll be actually recording this whole webinar. So we will be sending it to you by tomorrow latest. And if you have any questions for any of the panelists throughout the session, feel free to put down the questions into the Q&A box that's located at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of the webinar, we'll be having a feedback form. So appreciate if you can help us fill out the feedback form to help us improve our future webinar series. Okay, so just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Yi Ting, and I am the Regional Marketing Manager at Just Login, and I'll be your moderator for today. For anyone here that's new to Just Login, we are actually an employee-first HR cloud platform that provides innovative technologies for businesses to manage their people operations. So today, in conjunction with the International Women's Month, we will be discussing about women leadership during a crisis. The past year has brought about unprecedented challenges and crises as we have to deal with massive disruptions and uncertainties in our works, business, and lives. So during this period, we do need strong business as well as HR leaders to rise up to the challenge and keep the business afloat, keep your employees motivated by being quick and decisive in responding and adapting to the changes. So today we are honored to have with us 4 very experienced female leaders to offer their insights on what makes a good leader in crisis. And they'll be sharing how they have led and pivoted their businesses and teams throughout the crisis period, and also share some strategies and tools that work for them. Okay, so I'll be introducing all 4 of them. So firstly, we do have Daphne Ng, who is the co-founder of Digitization. So Daphne, Dedoko is a digital signing and document solution. So beyond Dedoko, Daphne is also a thought leader in the fintech space. So Daphne, you want to say hi to everyone? I think you're muted.
Hi everyone, good afternoon.
Okay, you'll hear more from Daphne later. And we also have Nicole Poon. She's the head of talent at MatchMove, one of Singapore's most recognized and fastest growing fintech. So she has over 10 years of experience holding a key executive position in MatchMove. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, everybody. Thanks
for joining us.
Nice to be here.
Okay, great. And we also have Priscilla Ambrose, who is the founder of Blazer Technologies, a software development company. She has over 5 years of experience in tech marketing, sales, and partnerships. And she also previously co-founded a company called FinTech Rakia. Hi, Priscilla. Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, we have Christine Liu, who is the head of partner acquisitions at RecruiterPal, Just Login's recruitment solution partner. So she leads the partnership team in Asia. And prior to RecruiterPal, she also ran a social enterprise in Cambodia. Nice to have you here, Christine.
Here. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so we'll just get everyone warmed up. So I just want to start by sharing research from Harvard Business Review that actually found that women are better leaders during a crisis. So they actually ran the research in 2019 and 2020 to see whether men or women were rated more effective leaders by those who actually worked with them personally. So the results actually showed that in both 2019 and 2020, women actually performed better. And in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, the gap actually widened and for women. So it actually shows that it actually concludes that women leaders tend to perform better during a crisis. So we just want to start with just a quick poll to ask everyone here, maybe what are some of the reasons you think that women are better leaders in crisis? Could it be that women tend to have more empathy, or they know how to drive better engagement with the team and stakeholders? It could be that women are more risk averse or they have different attitudes towards risk, or women generally are more responsible and take ownership better. So I think there's also could be a lot of other reasons out there. So you can put in your options in the poll, or if you got any more suggestions, you can put it in the chat as well. But maybe I will just, while waiting for the answers, does anyone have any thoughts on this from the panelists? Maybe Priscilla, you want to start?
Yes, hello. Okay, so I do think that women are better leaders in crises because, yes, I do agree that women tend to have more empathy because I think it's just our natural instinct. So I just want to share with you, I was actually watching this video, this TED Talk video. So there was this speaker. So she said that when in crisis, we all should act and practice as what a mother would do. But she did not mean that you need to be a woman to lead. So what she meant is that when you face crisis, you need to think and act like a mother. Because so you see, when you are a parent and when something happens to your child, definitely the first thing you do is that you will have empathy to show on how do you want to protect your child. So it's the same way that I see women leaders using the same concept even in business. So I see that they actually tend to show more empathy to their employees, partners, and clients. So yes, I do agree that women are better leaders in crisis because one of their strengths is showing empathy. And I think showing empathy in crisis is very, very important as it shows your genuinity when dealing with crisis, dealing with your employees, dealing with your customers and partners. So yes, I do agree.
Indeed, I think from the research, right, the conclusion is also that one of the main things is the empathy. But the reason is actually because during crisis, employees tend to put greater importance for their leaders to be able to like inspire and motivate them and communicate better in them. So because of these kind of things that they are looking for during crisis period, which they might find that women are better leaders for them. But of course, not only women can have empathy. So I believe men can too. So it's a skill that anyone can have. Any other thoughts? Maybe Christine, anything to add?
Maybe one of the other options, other than those that are in the list, is also the fact that women are also very good at planning. So there is a lot of, when a crisis hit, there's a lot of uncertainty. And so being able to plan out what and anticipate what your employees may be worried about and planning how to deal with it or address it plainly in front of your colleagues or fellow colleagues is actually quite important during a crisis. So transparent communications and of course, having that anticipation ahead of before, it boils over to become a much more serious problem to address it right ahead is actually something that's also quite important. So maybe in a certain sense, women are better equipped to be able to address that quite readily because they tend to be able to look beyond the immediate problem and see what are the other ancillary issues that may come up. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point as well. Maybe Ivan, at this point of time, can you help to share the results to see what our audience is voting? Okay, so I think most people also voted that women have more empathy and women drive better engagement. So I guess these 2 points are actually could be related. So Daphne, do you have any comments on these results?
Yeah, actually, it's quite a pleasant surprise to have this research findings. I have never come across the findings for this topic to be gender specific. Yeah, but I guess, how do we define better leaders? Is it from the recipient point of view? Then I guess from the empathy level, the women might actually perform better in that in terms of providing that communication in terms of how do we, for example, do external placements, in a crisis management for the staff. Yeah, so yeah.
So how about from another point of view? You mentioned this is from the recipient point of view. So what, maybe from the business point of view, do you have any thoughts there?
I mean, like I only say for myself, it's like a blend of yin and yang, right? So the best blend of both worlds. Then and then this research could have yielded that results. But having said that, I do suspect that hopefully the sampling size is equal for comparison for the male and female leaders, because I'm not so sure about the comparative numbers for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sampling, yeah.
Okay, maybe Nicole, any comments to add to this?
Yeah, I think in addition to what Priscilla said about, being like a mother in a crisis, I think in addition to being empathetic, women are more empathetic. I think it's also women are more able to listen and communicate. And that's why it's able to drive more engagement and be seen and perceived perhaps as better leaders during the crisis. It's because I think we tend to voice out how we feel, and we're able to listen better and be able to, drive certain engagement, listen to concerns, be able to reach out further and more to others when it comes to people who need attention.
Okay, so maybe we can move to the main kind of the discussion that we have today. So other than all these things that we've discussed, what are the other characteristics you think that a good leader should have? Maybe things that you've seen or within yourself, or maybe a mentor has displayed that you can share with the audience today. Anyone want to go?
Maybe
Christy?
maybe I would love to touch a little bit more on that. So one of the things that I find that's very important, especially because since the topic's talking about leadership during a crisis, I think that when a crisis hit, and it's usually unplanned, so you can't really, know that it's going to happen. But when it does, a lot of uncertainty will arise. So one of the things that a leader should be able to demonstrate very effectively is not only just being decisive in terms of how you're going to tackle the problems without knowing everything, having all the factors being, informed. So we are usually working at a very short timeline with very little information about what's happening, right? Especially, when we see the pandemic happening, there was very little information at the early start, and we're not very sure when the lockdown or what we call in Singapore a circuit breaker would happen. So there was a lot of preparation work that we actually need to start thinking and start actually executing the decision and delegating the work out. So I think for crisis leadership, one of the things is you have to be very decisive, even though you are not fully informed yet of all the information that you probably need. So that's one thing that I think is very important attribute, and also to be a little bit more positive than the rest of your colleagues, because it is a very hard times, not just for any level of executive, but perhaps even more so if you are in a senior position, because it has a direct impact on the business lines, especially if you are in a position from a sales perspective. So there's a lot of things you have to consider, and it may be quite depressing without knowing how long the pandemic is going to be or the crisis is going to be in question. So you do need to have a certain positive mindset to motivate the rest of your crew to go along with you.
Okay, yeah, definitely. It's very important. I think later we'll touch more on how we can maybe keep our employees motivated as well. You can share some tips over there. So maybe Priscilla, do you have anything else to add in terms of good characteristics?
Yep. So there's one thing which I've learned from the class, I can say about 11, 12 months-ish. So when we faced this kind of crisis, even I wasn't prepared. And in fact, I think because I'm pretty much kind of new into this, and when I wasn't born during the first, I wasn't in business when we all first hit the financial crisis. So to me, this was my first crisis. So what I think I did was I reached out to many mentors, I seek help, and I seek advice. So I didn't just sit and just use my own thinking and thoughts, but instead I went out there, I spoke to many business leaders. I wasn't shy at all. So even when I was in need of help, I reached out to those who were older and more experienced, more seasonal in business. I went out and I asked for advice. So what I would say that if you want to be a good leader in business, never be shy to ask for help and never be shy to be open to advice or even ideas. So I think we should be more flexible and always learn, reach out from the ones who are better than you, because you can learn better and you will be better. So this is what I think I've learned for the past 11 to 12 months.
Okay, great. So basically, trying to just get more help as well, maybe from people that more experienced than you for advice. Okay, actually, I have a question that was from one of the registrants that was also talking about some kind of characteristics of female leaders. So just now we talked about empathy, right? So having like high empathy, EQ can be a strength. But so for this particular person, she asked, well, what if you're seen as too sensitive or emotional? So I'm not sure, did any one of you guys have experienced this before, or like ask people saying that maybe you are being too emotional, or what advice can you give?
Okay, so I would say that be it in business or personal, I don't think we should see vulnerability as our weakness, but instead you could use this as your strength. Because if you are daring enough to show that you're vulnerable, it means you're daring enough to face anything, and you're daring enough to be you, to be true, and you're not scared of anything. So like me, when the crisis hit me, of course I was very emotional because I didn't know how or what to do. But I wasn't afraid to show the real me. I just bravely put myself out there. I embraced change. So one of the things that I learned is that I think you need to embrace change, and while embracing change, you shouldn't be afraid to show how vulnerable or how sensitive you are. So,
anyone has any other comments on this?
Yeah, I think it's okay to be sensitive and emotional when it comes to empathizing people, but when it comes to making decisive, action or plan, then you just have to be more logical and grounded. I think sometimes it's just having good support, like Priscilla mentioned, ask for help, get people to support you, have a good support system, and and there are so many others out there who are in the similar situation, and basically it's just being able to reach out and say that, do you have any advice? I'm having this situation, and I'm pretty sure that there are a number of people willing to step forward and give you a lot of advice, especially people who have been there, done it.
Okay.
If I may add to what Nicole was saying, I totally agree. I don't think this is because it cuts both ways. So when the person says that if you are a leader that is perceived as being sensitive and emotional, then there are two questions that hangs in the balance when I see such a comment. One is what leads to that perception, and what could be some of the misconstrued, right, connotation that ties to the person being able to empathize, because empathy and the ability to feel is actually the same thing. But if it's on the extreme spectrum, then it could be perceived as the person is being overly emotional and not being able to correctly see things for what they are. So I guess what the person is trying to get at is that, let's say if you are being perceived negatively for what you as a leader, how do you overcome it? How do you overcome that misconception, or that guided shield that you are overly sensitive. I think that's a very real problem to overcome, because it can be very much, a misconception, and it also could be at the same time something that could be worked upon from your end. So what I'm trying to say is that it's actually both ways. We really need to drill deeper to understand from which end is it more likely to warrant a positive result if we were to work on it.
Okay. Daphne, do you have anything else to add on? Any comments? No? Okay, sure. So I think we have heard a lot about what are some of the good characteristics that make a good leader, or more specifically, a good leader in crisis. So I think now we want to hear a bit more about like our most specific recent crisis, which was COVID-19 last year. So I'm sure that in some way or another, all of you must have been affected by that during that period. So I just wanted to let you guys share a bit about your experience, what kind of challenges you face, and then how did you emerge stronger. So maybe I'll start with Daphne, because I know that you started your business right before like the country went to a lockdown. So what was the experience like, and what did you do?
Yeah, so my co-founder and I, we spin out a new entity in March. And then shortly after we incorporated, we went into a lockdown. And so what we did was really quite interesting in terms of setting up the team remotely, especially for the tech side of the team, employment, recruitment, and then getting them onboarded, getting them started. And it was only a few months later, then we finally met each other when the phases were lifted. For the sales and BD side, because when I first started, I was like the main person. So I did all my cold calling from home. And the best part of the COVID crisis was because I could get everyone on the call on Zoom, because everyone was available. Nobody was traveling for meetings, right? So it was very easy. If you all remember, right?
No excuses.
Yeah, you remember last year we all used to pack our back-to-back Zoom. So we were like pretty efficient in that. So if you ask me, we kind of accelerated our growth during the crisis, but that's also on basis of the nature of our work as well. So in terms of timing, we weren't really compromised, because we were like kind of building digital tools for remote working. So we kind of leveraged on that opportunity during this crisis. So that was my experience. Yeah.
Okay. So you've shared about having to onboard your whole team essentially virtually. So I believe in the last year as well, a lot of the employee experience has actually changed. So I would also like to hear from the rest of the speakers, maybe about your experiences with any business challenges, or also how do you support your employees during that period? So maybe I'll go to Nicole.
I think at first it's about, okay, how best to communicate. I think one of the good thing was we were already, a number of the employees were doing work remotely. So it wasn't a entire shift like some other businesses where they mostly have physical presence, right? So being fintech, being digital, there are a number of tools that we are already using. So in that aspect, it's okay doing business like how Daphne said, most of it is done on Zoom. We have many calls, and so that's I think already people got used to it. In terms of how we really help employee at a point in time was, we happened to chance upon a wellness app, and basically it provides some, regular check-ins or some prompt to say how you're feeling today, so that it helps employees to regulate themselves, give them time and space that were given on the apps, like, are you feeling stressed, are you burning out, that kind of thing. So this kind of questions, and it comes with certain small exercise for them. And sometimes I think after a while of too many Zoom calls, I'm not sure whether you guys get even going into calls that you get anxiety attacks, and even the app helps that, if you are going to present something on a Zoom call with don't know how many audience, then yeah, that's something that the wellness app was able to support during that time. So this is one of the introduction that we did. Of course, there were many other tools that we helped to relook, like, okay, for example, office space, do we really need it? What do we do? And how do we support employees working from home? What other tools they need? Sometimes we have to ship monitors. I also heard companies that, you know, they use physical machines and now they have to start looking for laptops.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of change also operationally to support this kind of new model. Maybe Christine, you got anything to add in terms of how you can have the better employee experience as well as onboarding new employees?
I definitely, yeah, definitely, because, you know, for a lot of our colleagues, we were very much, you know, the same, like what Priscilla was sharing with us earlier before the session. You know, like we kind of miss the interaction that happens at the office. So, you know, all the water cooler chats, so to speak, it's kind of missing. And in between Zoom calls, there's very little breaks. So Daphne is absolutely right. We pack the Zoom calls, you know, back to back. There isn't even time for a toilet break in a lot of those sessions. So I guess the part about, you know, having a team together, yet separately, you know, in physical space, that was something that was very keenly felt. Maybe at the start of the crisis or at the start of the lockdown, you know, because there was so much uncertainty, it was still okay. As a tech company, it was relatively easier for us because we already have our own issued laptops. And we could already work from home on the get-go. But I think the later part, I think we're starting to see some fraying in terms of employees feeling the burnt out from either Zoom fatigue and also the lack of interaction between each other, between the teammates. So we try to overcome it by having not just all the serious talk like what we're going to do today or what we're going to do this week, but more fun stuff. So we have a start of week meetings and also the end of week meeting where we really talk about how we spend our weekends and what fun things have we done over the weekend or we have achieved, you know, at the end of the week. So something like that helps us to, you know, restart that process of team interaction, which is purely missing at the start of the lockdown. Yeah, so that's something that, you know, hopefully it's helpful if you don't have that going on in your company. So it could be something that would be missing between, you know, teamwork, teammates. Yeah.
Okay. How about Priscilla? So for last year, how did the business environment change for you, and what kind of advice can you share?
Right. So basically, it was definitely a big change for me. I mean, because I'm a person that I like to have face-to-face interaction. So when this happened, so we all had to work from our own homes, and we were some in Selangor, some in KL. So we didn't really meet up. So what we did was we constantly spent time over the phone because we didn't want to always have very serious meetings on Zoom. So we had this WhatsApp call. We talked about not just about work, but fun things. So I think we had this momentum going, and in fact, we even had a chance to actually have a fun call with our clients to actually ask them how they're doing, and just ask them, how can we be present for them, even when there were times when they said that I could not afford your service anymore. I said that it's okay. We are always here to help you. So what I'm saying is that I think in terms of answers like this, it's not always about what can you do for me, but instead you ask yourself, how can I be present and help you, even though you cannot help me back. So I think this was one of the things that I practiced, and it brought us closer as a team and even with my clients.
Okay, thank you, Priscilla. So I think there were some questions from the audience about also what are some of the best practices for virtual employee engagement. So other than the things that I think Nicole and Christine shared a bit, maybe Daphne, do you want to share a bit more as well?
Virtual
How do you keep them? How do you keep them engaged and motivated?
Okay, talk about the task specific because we're a technology company, so it's kind of easier to kind of measure the output. We have certain engineering systems in place that can track their daily activities and output. In terms of employee engagement, because now we have like an office and we stagger the schedule, so we do meet quite often. But during COVID, I still remember we had what we call like I can't remember what we term it, but like some water cooler kind of thing during the week where they can talk about anything except work, where they can talk about what they eat. I also remember one of the months we delivered some food or gave them some Starbucks cards so that when we had this the Zoom session, then we can all kind of like have the treat together. So it's really showing them that we are still around and they're not alone. And of course, with the usual group chats that we always have. Yeah, so it's important. I think that the main base principle would be constant communication. Like you don't go MIA. I mean, you don't want your staff to go MIA. I think the leaders shouldn't go MIA on the staff as well. So communication, I did a lot of we did very different communications relating to product development, like by my co-founder Ernie, and then for myself, I do more of the in terms of the direction, vision, of fundraising, milestones, and more of the aspirational stuff. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, then how about I think there were some questions about trusting employees as well. So I think when you come to a remote working environment, you cannot see what your employees are doing. Maybe it's not like the traditional office setup. How can you advise like some of the leaders out there that maybe are having some difficulties trusting whether like their employees are working in a remote environment? Do you have any ideas for them?
Maybe I start off a bit first, then maybe the other ladies can chime in. For this, I strongly am of the view that you have to start from the right recruitment. So there's no point not trusting the employee if in the first place, right, you kind of like don't trust your own judgment when you recruit that person. It makes it very difficult. Having said that, from my personal point of view, because I tend not to micromanage, I'm quite a big picture person. So lucky for them, they don't really have that issue of me not trusting their work. So I'm very outcomes driven, so it's easier to measure. So measurable outputs is very important so that there's no miscomm in terms of expectations.
Okay. Maybe Nicole, do you have anything to add for this?
Yeah, I think it's more not about, trust is something that people who can't trust, they have to work on themselves. But but more about it's really, I think when people work from home, sometimes you have to give them space. I think that part, there were times that, I heard they really, some other managers were having the employees to turn on their video, making sure that they are in front of the screen. I think that's really just defeat the purpose, and it becomes very uncomfortable for the employees, right? They have family, when we're doing lockdown, some of them have kids, they have their grandparents or the old parents at home that they have to take care. I think that had to be mindful. But the thing is, they just give them the chance to be able to deliver the work that you expect of them. Right, and whether it's in person, in office, or whether it's at home, there will always be certain work that needs to be done, and as long that work is delivered, or if it's delayed, clearly communicated, I think that should be suffice of whether you trust the person or not. Like Daphne said, it's also part of the recruitment. If you decided to recruit somebody that you believe in the person to do the job, then help them do the job. Right, but I think in terms of really addressing the trust is more about please try to trust the people that you hire, trust your own judgment that you hire the person to do the job for you.
Christine, got anything to add?
I think sometimes a crisis also helps to show what kind of managers are out there. Because, if everybody pre-crisis was just turning up for work, they could clock in and clock out at the same, the same hours, 9 to 5. And if you're not measuring their output in a more, metric-driven concept, but just measuring people on how much time they spend in the office, it's not very useful. So I think at this point in time, especially when the crisis hit and everybody started working from home, the kind of managers that will feel suddenly a loss of control are the very same ones that are measuring people on non-matrix basis, right? So maybe they need to see the person actually in the office to assume that the person is doing work, but actually that's a very bad assumption. So I would still think that number one, of course, you must have a very proper way of recruiting the person in. And so once you have made that judgment call, then there's a certain level of trust that you have to imbue in the person to do the job, and then have a very good system to measure the output. So output-driven, performance goals should be the method moving forward. It shouldn't be looking at skilled workers and say, how much time do you stay in the office today, right? So even before crisis and even after the crisis, I think this is just an opportunity for us to look at it from a managerial perspective and see how well are we really maximizing our human capital within the firm. Yeah, so the trust issue shouldn't be based on the fact that you cannot see them in the office. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think definitely we need to have other kind of tools to help you systematically kind of measure the performance. Maybe later I'll get into the topic regarding what kind of tools that you guys can suggest to the audience. But we do have a live question, I think, regarding just now when y'all were talking about like the virtual employee engagement. It's good to organize virtual huddles with your teammates. But I think sometimes it's challenging. There'll be just some group of employees that just seems a bit less engaged, and they always like don't really want to share much or participate in this kind of activities. Do you guys have any ideas of how can we reach out to this kind of disengaged employees?
Maybe I can share a little bit of our experience, because we are a technology firm, so we do have sales team, marketing team, and of course our product team members who are serious coders and developers. So some of them may be a little bit more reticent about participating and sharing about what they did over the weekend. But there are a lot of activities that we do in the virtual huddle. So some of us actually play games after Friday, after office hours. So we can actually participate virtually. So either you play on a team-based game. It can be very simple game. It's not like, very, very complex and you need to have prerequisites. It could be something simple as Amongst Us. I'm not sure if everybody here, the audience here actually play that game, but it's actually very fun, and you can actually be virtually in a space virtually in space, and you are in that game, you are also in the space. So it's quite fun, and it allows us to discuss about something other than work. I think that's the part of the aim, is to get to interact with people and to get to know them beyond what they are producing as a contributor to the firm. So I think that's something that we do that, and we find it quite useful. Just to ask them, who killed that person, right? And we actually kind of have a lot of active discussion based on that. So you can really draw out a lot of participation if you play games. If you're not into games, then there could be other activities that you could do online as well. So, but I think the other ladies may have a lot of more innovative ideas.
Anyone have any more ideas to share?
Oh, we did a bit of talent sharing, like people who enjoy singing or playing the piano. That was one of the Christmas celebration we had. And then we also did drive a number of what we call learning sessions, meaning that, if you have something that you like to share about the area of your work, then, we kept a slot every week for people to volunteer to share about what they want others to learn about, whether the system or the work. And then we also did a hackathon as well, a virtual hackathon. So that's where I think the less engaged people who are less vocal, then you group them into teams and let them, trash it out.
So I guess design different kind of activities for different kind of personalities and people
Yes,
as well.
we did a bit of like yoga session and also play a bit of games on Kahoot.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, for the audience, if you have any more questions, feel free to just put them in the Q&A box. We still have time to answer that. So, but let me just get back to the topic. Just now we were talking about how can we measure our employees' performance systematically, even though everyone's working remotely. So maybe if anyone has any particular tools, digital tools that you're using that you would like to share, for not just for performance management, but like what other digital tools that you think really helped you through the whole of like last year, and what could you recommend to the audience?
Yes, I think I don't mind sharing. Okay, so in terms of managing employees' performance system, I would say that we all could use just log in. So it could be one of the steps that to help you to measure your employees. So in terms of managing tasks, I personally used Jira to actually manage my tasks and projects. So it was easier for me to see how are my teammates doing, and in fact it was also a great tool for me to measure my own tasks. So I recommend SMEs and companies out there to actually use Jira to measure your task. And in terms of measuring your employees' performance, maybe we could use just login. I think it's the perfect app for you guys to measure your employees' productivity.
For us, we are very much sales driven, so we do have CRMs, to help us to manage the client calls and the pipeline, and so we are able to derive the information remotely. So we can just look at how's the team's performing and whether there's any conversion very easily from a dashboard. So that's one. But maybe in terms of personal productivity, I actually use Trello. So it actually syncs up very well with what Priscilla was saying. The parent company is actually Atlassian. So we actually can combine time boxing. So time boxing is basically a method where you can slot in the use of your time on a 30 minutes or even lesser time slots. So I personally like it a lot. So I time slot all my activities down to 30 minutes slots. And so there's breaks in between, of course. So that's something that we also thought was missing when everybody jumped headlong into Zoom. So there was clearly breaks that I will put in to cater for winding down from meeting to meeting, because for after every meeting you still have a lot of actions or follow up that you need to key in to your system, and so that you won't forget about what is due. So for me, I personally find it quite useful to use project management tools and also time planning tools like Trello together with time boxing. Yeah.
Okay, maybe Nicole, do you have any tools that you're using right now?
Oh, for the employee wellness one, it's called Intellect. For task-based tools, in addition to Jira, we also use Monday.com now. And for employee-wise, we introduced OKR, and the good thing is, there are really a numerous of cloud-based HR software like Just Login, and it helps with whether it's doing poll, getting power surveys, and getting timely feedback. I think that helps a lot. And also with the cloud-based HRMS software, we're able to release see employees from from onboarding all the way to exit, and it gives us a lot more insight on how we can manage the entire experience. So yeah, if you are not on any HR tools, go on one at least.
How about Daphne? We do have a question as well about how can we manage the productivity of the team. So do you have any tools that you use to manage productivity, or if it's not tools, any other kind of like, I don't know, programs you have in place to track employee productivity. So, I mean, these questions for everyone else as well.
Okay, like the Jira is more for task specific kind of work. And then Slack, we use Slack like for as a productivity tool, but it's more like a communication kind of project channels where you can create separate project rooms and do the communication with the different teams. And then for sales, it's really using HubSpot. And then I have Zero. So I have all kinds of automation tools set up by my different team members for their respective departments. And then, but most importantly, I think it's the structure of the monitoring, meaning that each team has a team lead to kind of achieve the KPIs that they need to achieve. And then most of the time, my job is to help them solve any like roadblocks or problems that or resource issues that they have.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from the audience whether there's any software that's useful for managing calls and team productivity, or any AI-based tools, I think. I'm not sure. Does anyone come across any of these tools? No? Okay.
Sorry, maybe I can rephrase the question. It does sound like the audience is asking whether AI is a good AI is a good complement to some of the productivity tools that we are using, right? It depends on how you are intending to use the AI, in terms of lifting your productivity. So if I can project to my own experience when it comes to sales, you can use AI chatbots to help you pull in some of these queries that may come in, at all times of the day. We may not be even awake, but maybe some of the clients could be very frustrated with a business problem or pain point that we can actually address. So then a chatbot can actually help in receiving some of these queries and channeling it for the next business day. We can actually take it on and help to organize a product tour. But the whole process can actually be automated really through our workflow software. So like for example, some of the software that even Daphne mentioned, right? Let's say if you use HubSpot, you can actually put out a tracking page. And then when somebody signs up to know more about the system, you can automatically schedule a appointment slot through the platform as well. So it's just about what is the goals you're trying to achieve and whether some of these actions can be actually automated. So it also depends on your business needs. Like if you are not receiving, extremely high volume of queries, then having the sales team to be available during business hour to answer some of these may actually work out just as well. It depends on your size of your firm and also how big is that volume or that need, whether it overcomes your actual sales team, for example, or whether it can be dramatically improved by the use of AI in replacement of the human. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Nicole, the audience is requesting whether you could repeat what was the app that you're using for staff wellness.
Intellect. I type in. Yeah, it's called Intellect.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I think for productivity, there's I think there's a wide range of things that you can do as well. So maybe just sharing internally at Just Log In. We also do like daily, like very short 10-minute scrums where we kind of just share a little bit about what we were working on yesterday and what we intend to do today and any challenges that we have faced. So like the whole team inside the group. So if there's any questions or challenges, we can tackle it straight away and everyone is on top of what everyone is working on. So I found that would also help us a lot to remain productive and connected, like when everyone was not able to see each other during the work from home period. Okay, so I think Nicole has shared the link of the app that she uses. So if you're interested, you can just check it out in the chat box. So we still have around 10 minutes left. So I think we'll actually touch on some questions that were sent in by the audience earlier. So, one question that I would like to ask would be how we can kind of help more women actually move towards more leadership positions. So for this particular question, I think the person's trying to motivate one of the subordinates to actually step up and do a more leadership position. So I actually come across this quote whereby, men apply for a job when they only meet 60% of the qualifications, but women tend to apply only when they meet 100%. Okay, so I just want a disclaimer. I googled it. It's not really research, but as in a LinkedIn Gender Insight report that I found actually has a bit of similar insights, that they said that women were more conservative and selective in their job search, and they are less likely to apply for stretch roles that are more senior than what they are currently at, even though they are more likely to be hired when they apply. So any comments on this, and how can we boost women's confidence to kind of reach for bigger roles out there? Anyone?
I would love to, I would love to share a little bit. I think on this note, sometimes it's important that they have a role model, right? So one of the double-edged sword is that today we find that in terms of senior leadership positions, the majority, when we say majority, it's improving, but we are looking at least for Southeast Asia, we are looking at about 65% are men, and then 35% are women. So you will see that, like let's say 1 in every 3 senior person is a female. So I think the ability for the organization to have role models for females, I think is a very strong motivator. So it doesn't only just have to be within the organization. If there's a support network whereby women in similar positions or positions that the female subordinate is actually aspiring towards, if you could actually link them up as a mentor, even as a just to deepen the network, it will be actually very, very helpful, because like what Priscilla started off the webinar by saying, there's a lot of learning that you can have. You don't have to make the same mistakes all over again. So a lot of people have done or trod on the same path. Some of the challenges that they have faced, I think it'll be very helpful if that female subordinate actually get that support system. So I personally also benefited from a lot of mentorship. So I think that's something that's quite critical. So in terms of what eating Google, I actually think it's quite real. We don't tend to lift up our hands and say I'm qualified for the job. So it's great if there are cheerleaders around you that would say that, hey, you why don't you give it a try? There's nothing to lose, and you actually get a good experience if you do go up to the corporate ladder. So I think having good mentors, and also people who have already done that, people in leadership roles that can help you or guide you on that process, I think it'll be quite important. Yeah.
Does anyone want to add any comments?
Yeah, I think the first step should be, if you want to be on that role, I think that you got to be brave. It's your very first step. So, I actually once made a very bold move. So, I wanted this position in Sage. So, I actually wrote an email to the CEO of Sage Group, Steve Head. So, I mean, it was a very bold move because nobody has ever done this before. So I just sent him a long proposal, and I said that, hey, look, I'm a great asset to your company if you hire me, why? And it was just one email, and I got an instant reply, and and then I got hired. I was inspired. I got to visit their office in the UK, and I was motivated by my ex-business partner. So I would say that it's very important for you to, number one, step up, be brave, be bold, can find a mentor within your network. And as for me, I was very blessed because my ex HR manager, she was very she was very supportive. And even when I wanted to leave Sage because I wanted to start my own business, she was very supportive. And even my ex bosses, so they were all positive, yes. So I think it's important for you to have a support group like what you guys has mentioned. So it's important for you to go out, meet new people, and build a support system to boost your confidence. And first of all, if you want to go there, I think you must be bold and
Nice, that's very interesting. Got to try that sometime, emailing the CEO. And Nicole, do you have something to share as well?
Yeah, just to add, I think it's yes, be bold, and I think sometimes maybe some of us as female are more humble. It's nice to be humble, but sometimes you have to step up. Really. I tend to like to have this. I'm not promoting for Nike, but I like the slogan. Really, just do it, right? Because sometimes it's just the fear that is stopping you, and as long as you can overcome your fear, and just go for it. Honestly, there's really nothing to lose, but lessons to learn. And actually, the more you learn in this manner, the better you are, the more resilient you are. I think that's something that it's really, it's like people are afraid of failing, but failure is really the mother of success. It's just go and keep trying, just do it. You learn, you adapt, you overcome. Right, I think that's one of that's the message going to everyone, right? So I think that's something that was one of my driving. I mean, if you don't have a mentor, but find something, a purpose or a slogan or a tagline that that motivates and drives you. And for me, it's really more in the sense, really just do it, and then after that, you just find out and see what happens next.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a mentor, I even suggest fellow female out there to watch TED Talks. Seriously. So on my darkest days, if I don't have around me, so what I do is that I just go on YouTube, I just search for anything on TED Talk. So after watching it, I feel so empowered. So what I'm saying is that if you don't have a support system, it's fine. TED Talks can be your support system. I mean, it may sound a bit ridiculous, but it worked for me. So I suggest you can try it.
Yeah, but not just tech. I think just now someone was also mentioning about support system. It's, earlier when I was in my earlier stage of HR, I questioned sometimes whether certain things is right, wrong, how do we do it, that kind of thing. So luckily I managed to join IHRP, a group where I manage now. I started a WhatsApp group with it. And it was very helpful during crisis because a lot of us okay, what do we do, especially as HR? And there were so many changes in regulations. And so within that group, it was meant to be a meetup group before COVID, that we were meeting up regularly, exchanging ideas, how best or the best HR practices. But then it became like a seriously support help group. What do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? So kind of, can you call MOM? Can you contact MOM at that point in time? So it becomes, instead of everyone calling MOM, we have a group of like over hundreds and 200s of HR in the chat. Then, one person call, we got all the answers. So that's what I meant by having, a certain similar interest group. Even family support is important, right? And lucky that, I always tell myself I'm truly blessed that, I have family support. There's a roof and there's a job. So, and try to give back whenever you can.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. So very apt. I wanted to conclude with the last question came in from the audience about how to empower and motivate myself to achieve success after many failures. But I guess Nicole and Priscilla jumped into that before I got to ask it. So thank you guys. So I think we're actually running out of time for the webinar. So I'll just conclude here. Ivan, can you help to bring up the slides again? But anyway, I would like to thank all of you, Daphne, Nicole, Christine, Priscilla, for sharing your time with us today and sharing your experiences. I'm sure the audience, I hope they have learned a lot, as I have also learned a lot from all of you. So thanks for everyone for joining us today. If you're interested in any more of their webinars, we actually had a lot of webinars. So it's all recorded on our website, justlogin.com/webinars. You can view them on demand anytime. So before you leave the session, just appreciate if you can help fill up the feedback form in this QR code, or as you are leaving the Zoom, you'll automatically be redirected to the feedback link just to help us improve our future webinars. So with that, we've come to the end. So yeah, thanks all again. So hope to work with you guys again on another webinar next time. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
Bye.
stay safe.